Doghouse Podcast is back. Got a brand new special guest. I connected with Skeeter from the College Huddle. How we doing today, Skeeter?
Doing good, Trey. How are you?
Good. Skeeter is from the Woods, Water, and Mizzou podcast. They got kind of a different tweak. They do things, talk a little hunting, and also all things Missouri sports. So I'm glad to have him on. We've been trying to connect recently. So first off, I did want to ask a little bit about the pulse of the Mizzou program. I think you guys came out, I did some research, 10-3, had a good bowl win over Iowa. And I also kind of wanted to see how you feel about Eli Drinkowitz, and then who's going to be your quarterback coming out of the spring. I know Brady Cook went to the draft, or in the draft. Is that right?
He went undrafted to the Jets.
Okay.
But he signed with the Jets, yeah.
That's good. And then also Luther Burton, he was a second-round pick, I think?
Yep. He was an early second-round pick by the Bears.
That's right. So, I know you lost some players. So, how's Missouri looking coming out of the spring?
Man, honestly, I think this is the deepest roster we've had from the lines, skill players. Of course, you lose Burden and Theo Weiss, but the receiver room is still stacked. Running backs, we picked up Ahmad Hardy out of ULM. ULM is my wife's college that she went to, and so I kind of kept up with them and love Ahmad Hardy and really excited for what he can do this year for us at running back. Defensively, we're counting on a couple Georgia transfers. Darius Smith, he tore his knee out last spring, so he didn't get to play for us. But he's back healthy, and coaches just say he's a freak of an athlete. And then we go get Damon Wilson out of the transfer portal this year, which I think shocked Mizzou fans just as much as Georgia fans. Yeah. And, really excited about the front seven, the secondary, and the quarterback are probably our biggest question marks. We go get Bo Pribula, I think's how you say his name, from Penn State. Right. He's played some spot starts there and a lot of run type packages. So it's between him and actually Travis Hunter's high school quarterback is a Georgia boy that has been on our team for 3 years now, going on year 4. Sam Horn. He's a dual sport athlete, and he's a pitcher for us, and blew his UCL out last spring and had to have Tommy John. But it's between him and Bo for the starting quarterback position. So, I think we're kind of like Georgia in a sense of you're not exactly sure what kind of quarterback play you're going to get. Yeah. If they reach their potential, sky's kind of the limit. If quarterback play is not good, it's hard for a college team to win when that position's holding you back.
Yeah, completely agree. It looks like I think a lot of teams in the SEC have quarterback questions is a big thing.
Yeah.
And back to Damon Wilson, that one really hurt for being a Georgia fan because he was going to start and play a lot of snaps, but he might have saw better position, could play right away. Of course, with Missouri, might have been NIL, but definitely a blow. And then Darius Smith, he was highly recruited, like you said, real athletic. He was down in the rotation, so he might saw a better chance at Missouri. But definitely 2 good pickups for you guys. And back to kind of like you were saying with Georgia, Gunnar Stockton was the man coming into the spring. You can't really read too much in the spring game, but he looked a little better than Ryan Puglisi. And the team is very supportive in the locker room of Gunnar Stockton. Last year, I felt like Carson Beck regressed. I don't want to talk bad about the kid, but kind of lost the locker room with his, I'll say, off the field stuff he had going on.
Yeah.
The girlfriend and the Lambos and all the NIL money. And you can kind of tell his stock went down and, his injury at the end. But I hope the best for him in Miami, but I'm glad that, everybody kind of parted ways. But they're all in on Gunnar Stockton. Also got Jared Curtis, big time commit for next year. But Gunner's waited his turn, but I'm hoping it's one of these he can get it to the playmakers. We can cut back on the drop passes and everything, but they're all in on him. And I think Mike Bobo, our offensive coordinator, is going to get everybody's going to be all eyes on him because Georgia really struggled on offense last year, but we'll see.
Y'all have had some luck with quarterbacks waiting their turn and sticking around, right? Like Stetson Bennett comes to mind,
Oh yeah.
and I mean he had about as good as run as anybody as a Georgia Bulldog.
Yeah, he did. He was definitely a great story. I mean, they should build a statue of that kid getting 2 national titles with a walk-on quarterback, and having Todd Monken at the helm at OC. We really miss him. He's doing really good things with Baltimore Ravens. But yeah, Kirby's, you can tell, one of those, like, you have to be awesome, outstanding to play right away. He's one of those going the experienced guy, knows the culture, knows the program, knows the system. That's kind of the way he is, almost like a Nick Saban. I'm sure he got it from him.
Yeah.
But we'll see. And then talking about quarterbacks, I mean, some people were talking about all the preseason lists or whatever. If you had to pick, who do you think maybe the number one quarterback in the SEC is, maybe going into 2025 season? I think that's a tough one because there's been a lot of attrition, a lot of teams
I
losing
I,
guys.
I think statistically,
Yeah,
you probably have to go with Nussmeier at LSU.
yeah, that's a good
Probably
one. Yeah,
probably going to put up the best numbers.
right.
If he
That's a good pick.
doesn't, probably looking at Brian Kelly hitting the unemployment line because they love firing a coach down there in Baton Rouge. So
Yeah,
uh, I don't know that he's the best, but I think probably going into the season, if I had to put my money on one specifically to put up the numbers with the style offense that they run and him having a full year under his feet now, I probably look for him to be at the top in most categories.
that's a good one. I didn't really think about that one, but that's probably, yeah, a good safe pick. And I'm sure everybody's on the Arch Manning train, but I will say they need to cool their jets,
Yeah,
because I'll go bet whack with former Georgia quarterback Aaron Murray is talking on podcast. He made a great point the other day, and I had to is Quentin Ewers drafted in the 7th round? If Arch Manning is number 1 overall quarterback going for next year, number 1 overall, do you beat a 7th round pick? He was
yeah,
sitting right behind him. Played some snaps when there were some injuries. So I thought that was a great point that stood out. I'm like, everybody's all in. Texas is going to be, top 5 probably. But I'm just saying, can't beat a 7th round Quentin Ewers, who was okay last year, didn't blow your hair back, as they say. So just saying, I thought that was a good point for
yep.
everybody's all over
And
Arch Manning.
a, another name that is probably going to be underlooked. I live in the Northwest Arkansas area, so I have to hear a lot of Razorback stuff. But Taylon Green, that kid, he impressed me last year at times. If he could get the
Yeah.
turnovers down, that seemed to be his issue. But the big problem, or the big question mark for them going into this year, is they have a completely new
Mm-hmm.
receiver room, and it's a lot of small guys.
Yeah.
You can have one or two small guys, but you need some big guys on the outside. So it'll be interesting to see. It's man, probably is one of the biggest question mark years headed into the SEC play, right?
Yeah. It is. Also, for getting some other interesting questions, we're going to talk about some college football playoff format and talk about some of the SEC media days, I believe, or all the SEC coaches. But I'll also, again, make sure to like, subscribe, share Doghouse Podcast. Also, wanted to give a shout out to our great sponsor that we've had the last couple of years, VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. 0 carbs, 0 sugar, great for 18 holes of golf. I know this golf season. Also great with the pool just opening. If you can get their coconut flavor, who's been sold out a lot, great flavor. And my personal favorite is the watermelon. But for 20% off, Doghouse 20. Again, that's Doghouse 20 for 20% off. VivaTequilaSeltzer.com. Check them out on Instagram and on their YouTube channel as well. Great sponsor of the podcast the last couple of years. And since they have been in Destin, I did want to ask, have you read anything about the playoff format that they're kind of having with the seeding and everything? I wanted to
Yeah,
kind of get your thoughts on that, Scooter.
there's a lot of SEC coaches. You see the reports coming out, and
Mm-hmm.
they want to know: is it 4 automatic bids? Is it 5+11? Before they even commit to the 2026 schedule, as far as 8 or 9 SEC conference games, they're more worried about guaranteed spots in the playoffs. And uh, I kind of laugh at it because you play an SEC schedule, more than likely you're probably going to be, annually putting 3 teams in, especially when you go to 16 teams. 3 ought to be the minimum you get in. So the fact the coaches and the ADs seem nervous about guaranteed spots into the playoff is kind of comical to me because it's like we're not the Big 12. Like, what are we stressing about? But
Mhm.
uh, yeah, it's very interesting, and it's college football. So the way it's been the last 5 to 10 years, don't get comfortable with anything 'cause it's going to change in a couple of years, anyways, right?
Oh yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they might say 5 plus 11, and then by 28, they've got a different style or format that they're running out.
It is, and I was just listening to it Dog. I listen to Dog Nation Daily. That's kind of like the local Georgia content provider. They have something every day, and they had Mike Griffith on there. He's always on Pine Fall Bomb, and I just want to keep going back to, and no one can ever really answer it. Like, who makes the decisions on any of this stuff? And does it just come out of the air? And he's even mentioning there's this California judge holding things up for transfer portal rules and what's going to happen. But I'm like, who makes all these? And it just is an email sent to everybody, or is there? I mean, obviously there's different conference commit. There needs to be a czar, as they call it. I know they talked a while back like Trump was going to get, Nick Saban and some of these higher ups to do a committee to try to change college football. But who makes the decisions would be great to know, and
On
how is the whole process? That's what I'd like to know. It just comes out
honestly,
of thin air.
honestly, you could probably follow the money trail, and with
Yeah.
ESPN, you know, paying for the televised rights of the playoffs,
Yeah.
it's probably going to be what ESPN wants. They're going to have the
Yeah.
biggest say over the schools or the conferences themselves.
Yeah. Completely agree. We'll see though. Be interesting to see what comes out of all that.
And another thing that they were
Yeah.
talking about, your coach Kirby Smart was said the most important thing for him for the future of college football is figuring out how many transfer portal windows,
Yes.
and he wants one, and he wants it in January. And for
Mhm.
the schools that are saying, well, academically we can't get them in to be student athletes, he said, you're figuring out how to get these high schoolers in January, so you know y'all can figure out how to make it work. And I absolutely agree that
Mhm.
I think January is a great time.
Yeah.
There's no sense in the player being there during the spring.
Yeah.
Um, for them to leave in May when the transfer portal opens again. Um, and there's no sense in doing it in December when you're wrapping up the early signing period for high school. And then you've got bowl games and playoffs, and coaches are having to
Yeah.
recruit their roster and figure out who they're even going to have to go play these games. Like, December is a stupid window
Yep.
that they even implemented. So I'm definitely
I'm with
on
you on
board
that.
with Kirby with the January window.
I'm with you, man. All in on that. And then also maybe that would help with bringing back spring games because they're not tampering with the players. Everybody's who's on your roster. So hey, show everybody because this
What
whole that really
what
made me
is
mad this past
tampering?
year. Is
What is tampering? Because who's got in trouble for it?
yeah,
Obviously they can't prove tampering. So what is tampering?
yeah, I agree. I just felt like all the. I mean, you can look at the stat. I remember saying just it killed all the spring attendance this past year. Not televising anything. Georgia's had 93,000 before. It was 35, I think. I had to listen to it on the radio. I couldn't make it to the game. I'm like listening to it on the radio, trying to find some streaming radio. Can't even watch it on TV. I'm like, come on. And
We
think
didn't even
about the
have a
ratings
game.
for ESPN.
We
Anyway,
didn't even have a game, and we
yeah,
used
it's
end
just
zone construction as our rule of thumb. But
yeah,
when everybody else around the country is canceling it too because
yeah,
of the recruiting and tampering that they're worried about,
yeah.
it's it's just a mess right now. But it's
Yes,
what we asked for. You know, allowing players to get paid. They absolutely should, but it shouldn't have been turned into a free for all that it was. And now they're trying to rein it back in. And we don't even know who's in charge now, as you said.
exactly. Crazy times, and I think they're just kind of flying by the cuff. But my next question, since we're talking a little SEC, media days or SEC coaching, is second year of the Caleb DeBoer era, coming off bad loss to Michigan. I think they ended up, was it 9-4? I think, because they barely missed. I think it was 9-4.
Yeah,
Lost the bowl game.
yeah, because they were at 3
So
losses before the start of the playoffs because they lost that late game to OU.
yeah, that's right. It kind of knocked them out. But
Yep.
yeah, what's your thoughts on Caleb DeBoer? Always said he probably wouldn't last 3 or 4 years, but his buyout's huge. So anyway, thoughts on Caleb DeBoer in Alabama, and I feel like that last year they were a second tier SEC program when you look at it, which is crazy. But
Well,
thoughts on their program so far?
I can't talk on the results last year because they did beat us and it wasn't close. Brady Cook
Right.
got hurt in that game, and so I can't go talking smack about them because they, they got the results on the field. They can point at the scoreboard. But man, I don't care who you put in there following Nick Saban.
Oh yeah.
Kirby Smart's probably the only guy that could be successful in that situation. You know, and
And I know
he,
Alabama fans are going to go, "Hey, Georgia fan, Kirby's 1-6 against him." But I'm gonna go ahead and say for those fans, Alabama hadn't won a national title since 2020.
yeah,
So just saying.
yeah.
So, I'm sure they'll be in
But
the comments, but hey, that's
it's
what I got for you.
Kellen. You know, my prayers are with you, brother, because
My prayers are
you've
with you.
got a fan base that unless you're in the national championship and holding a trophy up within your first 3 years, they're going to be calling for your job. You know
Mhm.
that's going to be just as bad as what LSU is post Saban. You know,
Yeah,
you look at LSU and they've had 3 coaches bring them national championships. Saban left. They've they fired Les Miles, and then they fired Coach O the season after he wins the national championship. So
that's right.
uh, you see that trend, and I think Tuscaloosa might be looking at the same thing. Maybe they've got enough money in the program down there that they can weather it a little bit better than other schools. But man, that's a tough job.
It is. I think this year you got to give him first year. Hey, you're getting your coaches in, getting the culture. This year you'll be zooming in, and I think that third year, let's say if he struggles again, goes 8-4, 9-3 again. Third year might be getting a little warm because you're getting everybody in recruiting. Because I feel like that third year in college football, it used to be a longer process, 4 or 5 years. Now it's that third year is pivotal, and transitioning into that. How about some of the hot seat guys? I'll throw that. I think they are really getting looked at. I was listening to Josh Pate. They listen to him, Josh Pate show. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
So I'll throw some of these name matches for hot seat. And what do you think they need to do to keep it, or if they're going to be looking on, as you said, on the unemployment line? First one, Hugh Freeze.
Mm,
This is year 3? Hadn't had a quarterback. I think another stat, if I'm wrong, they haven't had a winning season in Auburn now since 2019. So is this make or break year for Hugh Freeze?
absolutely. I think you know, nine's gonna be the minimum for him to keep his job.
Yeah.
9 wins. Um, whether that whether that's 8 wins in the regular season, getting that ninth in bowl, I'm
Yeah.
not sure. I think it might be 9 regular season needed to appease that fan base because you know that they won't mind paying that buyout, whatever it is.
Oh yeah. They're all
If
about some firing coaches, kind of like LSU.
yeah, yeah, if they don't feel he's up to par for their standard or what their expectation is, they'll cut him loose with an 8 win season. I feel like.
Yeah, and I'll in his defense. So if I say he hasn't had a quarterback, he didn't acquire much with Peyton Thorne, who's been, I don't even know if you call him average. No offense to him, but and I think they've recruited well and has some transfer portal guys. But it's kind of like they got a bunch of guys. If they got 3 guys, that basically means you don't have one.
Yep.
But yeah, him. And then looking at his schedule really quick. Pull it up here for you so you can kind of have it. I know it's Auburn, that's random, but just a look because he's on the hot seat. All right, so starting out at Baylor, that's not a cakewalk. You lose that one. That'd be interesting. Ball State should be a win. South Alabama, so should potentially go 3-0, but
Yep.
at Oklahoma, at Texas A&M, then you got Georgia and your boys. I mean, that's a stretch.
That is. Man, that's
You,
tough.
you go 3-3, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, and got Bama. I mean, Bama's Bama. Should beat Mercer. As we know, Vanderbilt's scrappy. I think they got the quarterback backs. So
Man,
not the easiest schedule.
if at Arkansas, if he's only sitting at 2 or 3 wins,
Yeah.
that might be he might not survive the week,
That's right.
and that's a stretch that not too many teams in the country are gonna go through without a scratch, at least one, so,
Yeah.
yeah, he's got his work cut out for him for sure.
Yeah. But as you know, brutal band at Norman and Texas A&M. You got a bye week getting ready for Georgia. Georgia, it is Jordan Hare, a tough place to play, but
Yep.
Georgia's owned them recently. They had a crazy stats against them. How?
That's the thing, people
Yeah.
are harping on Mizzou now because they're saying we have the weakest schedule in the SEC. Well, we don't get to choose our SEC opponents, SEC does
That's right.
that for us. So that's not our fault that we got downswung teams last year, and last year's team means nothing for next year. So
That's right.
but even being at the bottom of strength of schedule in the SEC, we're still 28th nationally. And so that's 16 teams in the conference taking up the first 28 spots in the country, 16 out of the first 28. There's not an easy schedule in this conference.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Totally agree.
Hugh's got his work cut out for him.
He does. Yeah, a couple other names to throw at you. Luke Fickell, who's been a little disappointing, which I thought was a great hire at Wisconsin. I think they're 5 wins and 7 wins so far.
Yeah.
Thoughts on him? And then another one is Mike Norvell coming off that brutal season in Tallahassee. And hopefully they get him a quarterback. But, man, that was bad. I think all eyes
Fickle,
on Florida State.
Wisconsin's an underrated program.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up in Missouri, kind of in that Midwest area, you see Wisconsin a little bit more than probably what y'all do in Georgia. That's a program that Camp Randall and the jump around
Oh, yeah.
tradition and all that there, that they've got a very energetic fan base. So I just don't know what their expectations are. So I don't know how hot his seat is because I don't know expectations and the money, like how quick they would be to even pay a buyout. So that one will probably plead the fifth of ignorance. But on Mike Norvell, did they extend him after the undefeated season?
I think he did.
So
Because there was that whole, like, hey, buy him out, fire him. And they started looking at the buyout. And I think, like, all right, he can't fire him this year. We just gave him an extension. We'll be sitting on a lot of money.
yeah, that's the thing. Like he's probably at Jimbo level buyout at A&M, the 70 plus million that he got. Is there a greater job in the world than being a terrible Division 1 football coach? you know,
These
they
buyouts are
pay you
crazy. These buyouts
millions
are
to
crazy.
go sit on the beach for the rest of your life. I mean, sign me up. you know,
I mean, I
uh,
was joking around for a while there. Go 6-6, 3 years, and they give you, 15-20 million buyout. I'll mention the name. I love him at Georgia, but hey, I don't want him to be a head coach. He's a good coordinator. Will Muschamp
yep,
went to Florida, got some buyouts, then went to South Carolina, got a
yep.
buyout. He's been hanging out ever since, living off that, being a
Living a
coordinator.
good life. Yeah.
That's right.
So,
Yeah.
but Norvell, man, that's a Florida State is. I assume they have money.
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be a very tradition-rich program. That was one always at the top. You know, growing up, late '80s, early '90s, and Bobby Bowden, like Florida State was in it every year. So I imagine with the ex NFL talent and everything that they have, money's probably not that big of an issue for them. So I would say his seat is definitely warm, and if he's anything close to what he was last year, um, they're probably looking at the undefeated season more as an outlier. And you have 2 back-to-back bad seasons. That's more of who you are.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so they would. A lot of that too is going to depend on available candidates across the country. If
Hmm.
there's somebody out there that they want, they'll pay the extra money in the buyout to get rid of who they currently have to go get the guy they want.
Yeah, completely agree. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think the DJU experience did not go well. And
No.
then when they lost, I knew they were in trouble when they lost that opening game. I think in Ireland to Georgia Tech, the Nerds
Yep.
as I call them.
Yep.
That was, and they were all excited. And then I think they showed that Florida State wasn't a great team.
Our Power Five non-con game last year was Boston College week 4, I believe it was. Well, week 3 they beat Florida State and they got ranked off of that win. Well,
Wow,
lo and behold, that ended up not being as good as a win as what they thought it was. So
that's right.
it's funny those early season wins and losses, the overreactions that you look back on week 10 through 12 and you're like, wait a minute, that
Yep,
wasn't as big as a moment as I thought it was.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, what do they call week 1 and week 2 overreaction Saturday or
Yeah.
whatever it was?
Yeah. It's what it is. It's what
Oh
it
yeah,
is, but it's what makes the sport so great because we live and breathe
oh yeah,
week to week, and we decide to let our lives and emotions be controlled by 18 to 22-year-old kids
that's right.
that are now getting paid millions of dollars to play a game on a college campus full of distractions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody's a diehard college football fan. First time we're planning something in the fall, weddings or anything. Hey, we're looking. All right, who are they playing?
What's the
What's
schedule?
what's the schedule look like? That's what I'm pulling out. I think that's what we all go
Yeah.
by.
Yeah.
And then, real quick before we let you go here, Skeeter, I did want to, since we had you up here, look at Mizzou's schedule and maybe give an early prediction. I'm sure you're going to do a breakdown video as it gets closer, but thoughts on 2025 Missouri schedule and what would be some expectations you're looking at?
Man, I mean, honestly, the the two games that stand out to me, South Carolina and Alabama.
Yeah,
Um, those are two that, and luckily you're getting them, early enough in the year that it's going to set the tone for the season. Um, you know, we'll find out pretty quick what we have.
right.
And as far as expectations, man, as much as I'd love to see another 11-win season like we had 2 years ago, it's hard to predict that with
Yeah,
just the question mark of quarterback play. You have a quarterback that's had spot moments here and there at Penn State, but he hasn't had to be the guy. Um, and then you've got a guy that's been a backup for 3 years and coming off Tommy John surgery. So, uh, man, that's just a big question mark, and it's hard to confidently puff your chest out and put your foot on the line and say, all right, 10, 11 win season for sure. So realistically, I think if we get to 9 wins, that will appease most of the fan base. But now with the playoffs expanding, you're gonna have a large portion of fan bases every year, and for every school in the SEC that they want playoffs.
yeah,
That 8, 9 wins isn't going to cut it anymore. They want the potential to once every 3, 4 years get in the playoffs. Unless you're Georgia, Alabama, um, Texas, there's a handful of schools in the SEC that if you miss the playoffs one year, okay, we can forgive it. But if you miss 2 in a row, you're probably not going to be the guy for us. That's
right.
not the case for every SEC fan base,
Yeah,
but Mizzou, we absolutely feel like with Eli Drinkwitz, the way he's recruited, the results we've gotten on the field the last 2 seasons, we ought to be able to knock on the door of the playoffs with it expanding to 12, I believe, after this season, and then or 12, possibly 16. I guess that's what they're trying to decide. So, um, yeah, I think we get to that nine win mark, and Eli's seat will definitely be safe for a couple more years. But uh, if I had to put my money, if you're making me put my chips down on the table,
right.
give me 9-3 and a bowl win to get us back to 10-3. So a repeat of last season.
Okay, I like that. And then if you somehow get that 10-win mark, man, I think you're going to the dance, as they say, getting in the
Yeah.
playoffs. I think that 10
I mean,
wins
coming out of the
pivotal.
SEC, you definitely should be.
Yeah. If you guys look into that some of those away games on the road, like at Auburn, at Vanderbilt, you win those two. At Oklahoma, got some tricky, which everything in the SEC is hard on the road, right? If you can
Yep.
try to win 2 out of 3 of those 3, and then you guys are usually pretty good at home. I think you guys will be okay.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the hope, is build Faroe into a tough place to come play. That Georgia game 2 years ago still stings. If Cody
Yeah,
Schrader could have got that one more yard,
yeah.
if he could have got that one more yard,
I
or
know,
I
man.
guess it'd have been 3 years ago.
We were in trouble, man. I was I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, man. I'll say that sports bar I was at was silent till
Yeah.
late in the third.
And
Dude, and that
then
your kicker you had, man, the big stocky guy was hitting bombs that day. Was he 5 for 5? I was like, this kid
yeah,
doesn't miss. Who's this guy?
yeah, and then 2 years ago, we gave you all run for your money in Athens there, and, Brady late late in the game, bad pick to D lineman,
Yeah,
and
Nazir
and sealed the
Stackhouse. Yeah,
loss.
out of nowhere.
Yep, yep,
I the one my mom loved this kid, by the way, and she always asked, did he make a female? Did he make a roster? He was so good, Cody Schrader, because man,
yeah.
he was a problem and ran hard. I think he's with the 49ers, but I just thought, man, he could have been a
Well,
NFL
he
second and third.
signed undrafted with the 49ers,
Yeah.
didn't make it out of camp,
Mm,
and then got picked up off the waivers by, the Rams.
mm,
Or he may have made it to practice squad, but either way, he made it to the Rams 53-man roster,
mm.
and got some special teams play last year. But yeah, he is what it means to be a Missouri Tiger.
All right.
The heart, the grit. Uh, People count you out, and you just work your way in. He come from Division II transfer, walk on, was 8th on the depth chart at running back when he first got to campus, to going on to lead an SEC his last year there. So great story, great attitude, great kid off the field just as much as he is on the field. So yeah, that
Yeah.
love that you remember that name.
Oh yeah, dude, and he gave Georgia all kind of problems, and
Yeah.
I think a lot of teams didn't like hitting him. So yeah, I always remember him, man. I hope he can stay around and find a home in the pros.
Eli probably had one of my favorite tweets ever talking. Eli's good at giving little quotes here and there. But he was talking about Cody Schrader, and he said he loves to play chicken, and he's not a chicken.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's funny. That's
So
good.
yeah.
Yeah, Eli drinks pretty good on the mic sometimes.
He's toned it down a little bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, I like a coach that's not afraid to talk.
Oh yeah.
He might say some stupid things here and there, but go back
Yeah.
it up on the field, and I'm all for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, Skeeter, appreciate you coming on again. And then how do we find your podcast on in social media?
Yeah, we're on X, we're on Instagram at
Yeah.
Mizzou Pod. Our YouTube channel's at Mizzou Pod, Woodswater Mizzou. I believe we have a Facebook page, Woodswater Mizzou, there for any of the old folks still on Facebook. But that's just an inside joke with one of my co-hosts there that runs that page. But man, I greatly appreciate you coming on. The College
Yeah.
Huddle is awesome for
Oh yeah.
building
Yes.
these connections, and we're gonna have to get you on to coming to the Mizzou side and talk a little bit about the state of Georgia program, and maybe you can talk to us about those early Kirby years, the end of the Mark Reich era there, that
Yeah,
the
it'd be
the
great.
building the program where you're knocking on the door and you just haven't gotten the results, and then what it's like once you finally do get those results. Because my hope is at Mizzou, that's what we've been going through, and I hope we're knocking on the door, but finally going to take that step to get through the door. So jealous of y'all and what you got to experience there for the run you've been on, and a lot of respect for the Georgia Bulldog program.
Yeah, man, appreciate that. And Missouri's always played us the last couple of times, man. You guys had us on the ropes, but always been really good. And then I always get nervous if we have to go to Missouri, man. You get that place rocking, and it's a loud place to. It seems like a loud place to play. So yeah, always much respect for your program. And it sucks that we don't get to play the last couple of years. I don't even know the next time we play each other. So
Well,
just wear
that's
the
why I hope
stigma.
we go to that 9-game schedule, because then
Yeah.
you'll play every team every other year, I believe.
Yeah, that'll be good.
So that's what we need in a conference. You need to play every team often, not once every 5-6 years. That's ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
So
Yeah, make sure and follow the Woods, Water, and Mizzou pod. Over, I think, 2,000 followers. Actually, 4,000 followers. Sorry, on the Twitter there, and then getting close to that 200 subscribers on YouTube. So you guys are growing.
getting there.
Yeah, man.
We're
Really appreciate you coming on the podcast. And if you stick around, make sure to like, subscribe, share the Doghouse podcast. We're going to have some good content coming out, even though it is the off season. There's always something to talk about. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, Trey.
Hey, thanks, Skeeter. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yes, sir.
Dude, thank you.